King Vikramaditya walked carefully through the dark forest. On his shoulder, the ghostly Betal is hung and laughing softly. The trees were whispering, and an owl was hooting in the distance. "Oh, brave king, you never give up, do you?" Betal said. King Vikram's steps were steady. His sword was shining faintly in the moonlight. Vikram said, "Tell me your next story, Betal, and I will listen to it in silence." Betal said, "Ah, but silence never lasts long with you, O King Vikram. Still, hear this tale of a hermit and the princess. It will test your wisdom again." The wind rustled through the leaves as Betal began his tale. Long back ago, there was a grand kingdom named Patalpur. The kingdom was ruled by a noble king, Vijayasen. His palace was made of marble and gold and was shining under the sun. The people loved him dearly, for he was kind and wise. King Vijayasen had a daughter, Princess Chandraprabha. She was gentle, graceful, and beautiful like the full moon. Her eyes were calm and filled with compassion. Her heart was pure, and she respected the saints and holy men. The king loved her more than anything in the world. But the princess often felt that the palace life was empty. One day she told, "Father, I wish to meet those who live for truth." The king said, "My dear princess, the path of renunciation is so hard. But if you wish, go and meet the hermits in the forest." So, one fine morning, the princess left the palace with her attendants. They rode deep into the forest, where birds were singing and the wind was cool. After a while, they reached an ashram by a river bank. There lived a young hermit named Ramaswamy. He was calm, wise, and radiant with spiritual glow. His long hair was tied neatly. His eyes were filled with peace. He wore simple saffron robes and sat beneath a banyan tree in meditation. Princess Chandraprabha folded her hands respectfully and said, "O Holy One, I bow to you." The hermit opened his eyes slowly and smiled. "Welcome, my child. What brings a princess to the forest?" "O holy man, I have everything in the palace, yet my heart is restless. I came to learn about peace." The hermit said, "True peace comes not from jewels or gold, but from wisdom and truth." The princess listened with deep respect. She stayed for hours, hearing his gentle words about compassion, truth, and self control. When she returned to the palace, her thoughts were stayed with the hermit. Days passed, but she could not forget his calm face and kind eyes. She began visiting the forest more often, always bringing food and flowers for the hermit. The hermit blessed her each time but spoke few words. The princess began to find peace in his company. She would sit quietly near the river as he meditated. Sometimes she listened to the sound of flowing water and birds singing. She learned to let go of anger and pride. The hermit too saw purity in her heart and treated her like a student. He taught her kindness, patience, and detachment. Over the time, an unspoken bond grew between them, which is pure and full of respect. But rumors reached the palace. The courtiers whispered that the princess often goes to meet a hermit. This is not proper. When the king heard this, he grew angry and worried. He called his guards. "Bring the hermit to my court at once." The soldiers went to the forest and found Ramaswamy deep in a prayer. "O holy man, our king commands your presence in his court." Ramaswamy bowed and followed them quietly to the palace. When he stood before the king Vijayasen, the hall fell silent. The king frowned and said sternly, "Why does my daughter visit you so often?" The hermit bowed and said calmly, "O king, she seeks only peace and knowledge, and I have no worldly desires." But the courtiers murmured again, "Perhaps the hermit's heart is not pure." The king, in anger and confusion, ordered, "Leave my kingdom, O holy man. Go away and never returned to this kingdom. Ramaswamy bowed his head in silence and left the palace. When the princess heard of this, her heart was broken. Father, he is innocent. You have hurt a pure soul. But the king did not listen to her. I have taken this decision to protect your honor. That night, Chandraprabha wept alone in her chamber. Next morning, she dressed in simple clothes and left the palace secretly. She walked for miles until she reached the hermit's ashram again. She found it empty. The hut was quiet and only the staff remained near the river. Oh, holy man, where have you gone? She cried bitterly. Her tears fell into the river. For many days, she wandered through the forest searching for him. Finally, she found him meditating on a mountain cave. His body was thin, his eyes closed in deep peace. She fell at his feet. Forgive my father, please return. Ramaswamy opened his eyes and softly said, "O princess, I have no anger. The world is full of misunderstanding." She pleaded, "Let me serve you. Let me live a life of truth." The hermit smiled sadly. "You are a princess, bound to your duties. Go back to your father." But the princess refused to leave and said, "I have renounced my royal life." The hermit closed his eyes once again and said, "Then stay here in meditation, but as my student, not as anything else." The princess agreed, and they began to live quietly in the forest. When the king knew that his daughter had left the palace, he was filled with regret. "What have I done? My pride has ruined everything." He went into the forest with his guards to search for her. After many days, he found the princess and the hermit sitting under a tree. The king fell at the hermit's feet. "Oh, holy man, please forgive me. I judged you wrongly." The hermit lifted him up gently. "O king, forgiveness is the path to peace." The king looked at his daughter. "O my child, please return home. The kingdom needs you." The princess looked at the hermit for guidance. He simply smiled. "Your father has learned his lesson. Please go with him." The princess bowed deeply and said, "I will do that, O holy man." Before leaving, the king offered the hermit gold and jewels. But the hermit refused and said, "True wealth lies in wisdom, but not in gold." The king bowed again and left with his daughter. As they rode back to the palace, the princess looked back at the forest one last time. The birds were singing, and the river sparkled under the sun. She whispered, "Peace lives where love and truth meet." Years passed. The princess ruled the kingdom after her father with great wisdom. She built schools, temples, and gardens for the people. She often said, "I learned true peace not in palaces, but in the forest." Far away in the mountains, the hermit continued his prayers, free from worldly ties. He blessed her silently every day. Betal finished the story and laughed softly. "Now, O King Vikramaditya, tell me, who was truly wiser? The hermit who renounced the world, or the princess who returned to serve it?" Vikram smiled and said, "The hermit was wise, but the princess was wiser." Betal raised an eyebrow. "How so?" Vikram said, "The hermit sought peace for himself, but the princess found peace and shared it with others. Wisdom that serves the world is the greatest wisdom." Betal laughed loudly. "Well said, mighty king. But once again you have spoken, so I must now fly back to my tree." Before King Vikramaditya could hold Betal tight, Betal slipped from his shoulder and vanished into the darkness. The wind howled again through the forest. Vikram sighed, drew his sword, and began walking back to fetch Betal once more. The moon was shining softly on his path as he disappeared into the night. The story of the hermit and the princess echoed through the forest, carried by wind. True peace is not found in isolation, but in compassion. A heart that serves others is holier than the one that hides from the world. And knowledge becomes wisdom only when it spreads light. Thank you so much for watching. Jai Hind.